Today I would like to read something to you from the book of Not Knowing by Peter Ralstons, and it's on the topic of existential loneliness. And afterwards I will add some of my own thoughts to this, even though I think this two-page extract from the book is very precise already on this topic, but I have a few thoughts in my mind which I would like to add to it afterwards. But first, enjoy this short little excerpt from the book. Have you ever felt alone even in a crowd? This is an example of being existentially alone. What does that mean? It means that this aloneness exists simply because self exists. You exist as the distinction that is set off from all that it is not, which is what makes a self a discrete entity, and this creates a core sense of being separate and isolated. Because the self is conceptual in nature, it also lacks any objective solidity, and this adds to your sense of unreality. You tend to overlook the source of this universal human condition and suffer as if it is an undeserved affliction that perhaps you alone endure. Since we seem to live within our own internal world, a sense of isolation is to be expected. We may share ourselves with others and value their company, but some deep aspect of our being never seems to be touched by them, or rarely in any case. This may owe its origins to two conditions. The first we have already discussed. The sense of disconnection created by our lack of direct personal experience when it comes to the basic origins and nature of our own existence. The second might be best understood through the use of the Lucifer myth. A myth of long ago tells us of a fallen angel, Lucifer, whose statement to God went something like, "I'd rather rule in hell than serve in heaven." My understanding of this myth is that Lucifer is the self, that it points to an illusion within, an activity to which our original being falls prey, separating us from what's real and true. The hell in which we rule is our own self-mind. The heaven we refuse to serve is the real nature of being, the absolute truth. It is within our own minds that we seem to have free rein. There we can adulterate or distort whatever we wish. We can choose what to accept and what to reject, what to believe and what to disbelieve. It is within our own minds that we can lie, pretend, misrepresent, affect, ignore, and more. It is here that we have our own opinions and pass our judgments. We can reorient data, rearrange facts, and disregard the truth if we so desire. We can alter our perceptions and recreate our memories. It is here that we reside as a self-overlord. This is where it appears as though we rule. We can do all this, but we can't create a sense of being connected. Our rule requires a separation between what we experience in our own cognizant mind and our experience of others and reality, as well as a separation between us and the absolute truth. Although we seem to be the self-overlord, in truth we suffer the consequences of this illusion. And so our little fiefdom also becomes our prison, and we spend our time serving a false master and struggling against meaningless foes. This is the world of the self. On the other hand, if we were to be dominated by whatever is true, if absolute reality impinged upon our awareness in no uncertain terms, without allowing for distortion or alteration in any way, or ignorance of any kind, then we would have no choice but to succumb to an experience of being at one with the truth and reality. Another way to look at it is, without the self there is no separation. We could call this serving absolute consciousness. Regardless of how this illusion of self-rule came to pass or what we may be able to do about it, the fact remains that we find ourselves within an awareness that is separate and introverted. At our core, we suffer a sense of existential aloneness, an experience that we are alone simply in the act of existing. This is a result of existing as a separate self-awareness, and this awareness is, by definition, isolated. So that's the excerpt on the topic of existential loneliness by Peter Ralston. And I find it very good, very precise, and a very good starting point. But what I want to add to it, and you can pause here if you like to think about what you just heard for a little while and maybe come up with your own conclusions first before I give you my thoughts and insights on this topic. So feel free to do that if you want. Otherwise, I will give you my thoughts now. And this is what he doesn't point out in this. I mean, he points it out in other parts of this very thick book, but not in this one particularly, is that this is an ongoing process. It's not some inherent human condition. I mean, almost everybody lives in this condition, but it has to be recognized first to resolve it, that this is happening right now, that this is something your mind is doing in your present experience, if you're not enlightened and you don't feel one with everything, which is highly unlikely, because there are very few people who live in this constant state of samadhi. And so what is going on is that you have taken a very small part in your experience, which usually we cannot even really point out, but usually it's our inner world which we identify with. And if you have been doing some meditation, you have maybe even found out that your thoughts are not really you, and your sense of self is even more unclear to you and has become maybe even smaller. And so this aloneness, or this feeling of loneliness, really comes from this state where we are not feeling connected to everything. And the oneness of everything, when we realize that we are one with everything, it sounds so magical and so a lofty goal to achieve and such a nice feeling, but really hear what is being said and really come clearly to an understanding of what is meant here. It means there's only one thing, and that is everything. So when you are becoming one, there's also this very clear knowing that there is nothing else, that there is no one else, that you are this one entity. And usually this experience comes also with a clear knowing that you exist outside of time. So whenever you are coming back, or you might be very terrified and have this feeling of never-ending time, of infinity. Usually that's only our interpretation, because we are in an experience where we are only used to see it from within time, from within the frame where time exists. But really, it's a little different, existing outside of time. But here again, this loneliness, this feeling of feeling separated and having to endure this disconnection really comes from our mental habit of disidentifying with everything we experience and everything we know about the world, because maybe it's so shocking to us to really think that we are all of that. And really that's the point of spiritual work, to overcome this ego-based, this ego-driven fear, and really look behind that wall of fear that lets you live in your own little bubble where you try to arrange everything as nicely as possible, and that you feel happy and content as long as everything is going well. But really embracing this oneness with everything will cure also the feeling of loneliness. Existing outside of this separated ego self means you are everything. So there's also nothing else and nothing you couldn't be. Those are my thoughts that I wanted to add to this. I hope you like this excerpt from the book, this small passage, and I recommend that you buy this book. It's really insightful. I mean, it's not easy because it's really honest and really directly to the truth, and that might not be the right thing for everyone, but again, could be for you. So if you like this, what you heard in this video, give it a try, read it. And again, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think about this, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.